You're listening to the Modern Healthcare Back Office, a podcast dedicated to solving the billing issues and gridlock facing the healthcare industry, presented by ProChant, hosted by Chuck Ellis and Rachel Schools.
Well, hey there, folks. Chuck here, and welcome to another edition of the Modern Healthcare Back Office. I am delighted today because I have a special guest co-host. Melissa Wagner is in the co-pilot seat with me today. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great, Chuck. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. And don't worry, folks. Rachel is okay. She's going to be back on future episodes. She is just taking a well-earned vacation this week, and we wanted to keep things rolling because Tina came to us with this really good idea, and I couldn't wait to record it. Tina, we are talking today. First of all, what am I doing? Tina, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Tina. I'm just going to start talking right over you from the start. This is A1 podcasting right here. All right. So Tina had been talking to Rachel and I about some ideas, and you had touched on gamifying the back office as a way that you have worked as a consultant. For those who don't know, Tina is part of our Infusion pharmacy team here at ProChant, and one of the things that she does, among many other things, is help our clients manage their back offices better and come up with custom plans, unique approaches to run their back offices better. Is that more or less correct, Tina?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had said that you like to gamify back offices processes. So I'm gonna turn this over to you, and we'll start with the question of what do you mean when you say to gamify the back office?
So, what I mean by that is having little challenges and it kind of boosts morale and it kind of has people kind of get to know each other and build relationship, which it keeps down a lot of that kind of fighting or those kind of animosity things. So, kind of like that. Does that make sense? You can do some little fun games to kind of help with that, but also get things done that might be kind of piling up.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's walk through a few examples of that really quick. Like when you're going into consult with an Infusion back office
hmm
team and you're looking at some ways to gamify things, what are some specific things that you've found work really well?
So sometimes, for an example, let's say that your over 90 AR is just growing out of control, and you feel like you have enough staff based on how many claims and things that they're working. Sometimes it's good to have a little competition where if you have your collectors maybe split by payer, you can come up with goals to reduce their over 90 each month. Now we already do that, right? And sometimes it just doesn't get done. But sometimes when you have like, hey, whoever can reach their goal, they're going to get a lunch. We're going to take them to lunch at a nice restaurant. Things like that where it becomes almost like a competition, right? So they're I found that really worked. We had some medical records that were missing on a lot of patients. And so people would call the doctor, ask for the records, then they call again and again and again. And so they came up with a little competition that they kept track of all the medical records that we brought in, and we got a bonus based on how many medical records we brought in. So things like that, I've always found that that's been really, really great to kind of help boost something that's piling up on you that they're working. When you put that little bit of competition or that prize at the end, it really kind of shifts into overdrive, I've found at least.
Yeah, so Tina, sorry to jump in here, but it's so interesting and ironic that you would bring this up because I can share, if it's okay, I'd like to share a quick personal story. So I'm highly supportive
Sure.
of this Gamify option because I can tell you that this is exactly how I got my first promotion into being a billing supervisor. The company I was with had presented the similar challenge. There were two looking to be a supervisor. I was one of them, and there was another person. And they literally turned it into a challenge/game. And whichever one of us actually reduced the AR, I think it was Medicare specifically, was able to reduce the AR and bring in the most cash in a certain period of time, got the promotion. And luckily, I got the prize. But just an interesting irony there that you bring this up because I can, from personal experience, support this in terms of not just from a challenge and some production and opportunity perspective, how it can actually help to upskill and maybe grow people beyond just the project within an organization.
Yeah, we had I went to work for pharmacy at one point. I was there for a couple of years, kind of just trying to get everything moving in the right direction, streamline things. And they had about 500 deliveries that had never been billed. So that's a lot. And so one of the things I did was with the billers, I said, whoever can really bill the most ticket, I'm going to take them to a really nice lunch. And just that lunch, and money helps too. Like sometimes we would do like Amazon gift cards or things like that. They were really, and they would laugh about it and say, oh, I'm beating you. And we had little thermometers on the board that showed how far they were. Every day I'd go color in how far they had made it, how much they had done so far. And it became this cute little rival they had amongst each other. Sometimes the one thing I will warn against though is sometimes if you say you have 3 collectors and they're all working the same AR, right? And you do that, sometimes you can get a little pushback where then they can say, oh, well, so-and-so doesn't have as much AR as me, or they were out on vacation and this isn't fair, things like that. So it's best to make sure you have something that is you're able to track by person so that you really are basing it on that particular person, what they've done.
Yeah, sure. And get the team's buy-in, right? And get them to
Mhm.
provide some suggestions about how it could work. Then that reduces some of that sort of anxiety around fairness and equity.
Yeah, and that's one thing I love that we do here at our company is ask us a lot. Hey, what would you guys like? What would you not thinking up things for people or what would be beneficial for people, but kind of just taking a anonymous poll of you guys were going to be incentivized for something, what kind of prize would you like? Things like that to make sure that you're offering something too that, is something that they really want.
Yeah, that sounds so cool. And it's one of those things that at a common sense level, it makes sense to have that friendly competition, that friendly rivalry to challenge each other to do better. Like, do you ever experience any pushback from companies that are like, oh, well, we don't have time for that, or that doesn't, fit our
No,
culture? Like,
no, I really have never had that problem. But then again, I also, like I said, make sure that it's very specific to the person and also the other big thing is to make sure the goal is obtainable. You want it to be a little bit, just a touch lofty, but you don't want to present a goal that they're like immediately give up. Oh, there's no way I can do that, you
that's
know.
true. That's true. Yeah, I've definitely worked places where, yeah, it reminds me of like, have you ever had one of those professors or teachers where they're like, if you just do the assignment, you get a C. You have to go above and beyond and really, really impress me to get an A or a B or something like that. And I've worked for places like that before where they've had the goal was so incredibly lofty. Like they wanted you to not reach the goal because they thought that would push you harder than you normally would. And that's a fine line though, because it can very easily, and it led to at this company, not Protein, of course, his previous company. Like people would get burnout, they'd get frustrated, they get depressed because you were like, well, I can never reach my goals. I'm always falling
Mm.
short. And so that's a good point. Like I just I appreciate that. One of the cool things is that, like you said, every company is different and everyone has to have their own unique approach because particular competition is might work for one team but not
Mhm.
another. So are there any?
It
Oh,
gets
go ahead.
people thinking outside the box too. So for example, that whole medical records thing that we did.
Sure.
One of the girls talked to one of the sales reps and said, "Hey, would you take me around to these doctors' offices to pick up these medical records?" And she actually which worked out great because the sales rep got to talk to the doctor. So she also got to make sure she was getting the records that she needed. So it just helps them too to think out of the box of how can I do this? What's the best way that I can make an impact? And so people start thinking more outside the box.
Yep.
I love
Great.
it.
No, I think this is all great. And I think one of the things that's makes this a little bit more achievable and easy is that when you're talking about AR, of course, there are ways to have very specific measurable goals. You can see the end in sight. They kind of know the process. So it's certainly a little easier to establish these types of things in that type of environment. And stretch goals are always good because give the overachievers a chance to achieve beyond just what the set goal is and maybe set some secondary bonus or opportunities for them. So
And a lot of people, that's their personality. They always love to challenge themselves. And so you'll kind of see those people when you start doing things like that.
yeah, usually people that are in collector positions are in that position because it's what they like and that's what they do. They want to collect the money, and so it you get a lot better buy-in to these kind of projects and gamification with those types of individuals.
Very cool. All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank
Yeah,
you again,
definitely.
Tina, for coming on today to share this. It was just a short episode, but we just like it's one of those things that I was like, we need to share this because this is something that a lot of people are in hindsight probably gonna go, oh, of course, this would be a great thing for the team. But yeah, it's one of those things that you don't feel like you have time for until you realize, oh, the potential to make up for the time that it would take to set something like this up. Hey, it doesn't sound like it takes hardly any time at all to set up.
Hmm.
Really, it's
No.
just
The deciding on what you're going to give them and what the goals
mhm,
are is probably the most time consuming part. Because if you have something that's backlog like that, you're running reports and looking at things every day. So you're going to see, oh my gosh, okay. And it took me 5 minutes of my day. I was already running that report every day to kind of check and see what had come in. And so it was easy for me just to walk in there on the whiteboard and color the thermometer a little
mhm.
bit
Yeah,
and just run
absolutely.
back in my office. So, and they wait for it too, and they ask you, hey, what'd we do today? You didn't color the thermometer yet. And they'll let you know.
Yeah, very
So,
cool. Melissa, did you have anything else you wanted to add or ask Tina?
Yeah, so Chuck, when are we going to start our first HME Jeopardy podcast?
I love it. Yeah, that could be something we could do on the next
So we could
episode.
create some games right here in
Yeah,
our podcast.
absolutely. I love it. Then when Rachel's back, we'll set that up. We'll do
I think
an
that'd be a lot of
HME
fun.
Jeopardy. So, well, very cool. Well, Tina, this is some great stuff. Thanks for sharing it. If anyone has any questions about how to gamify their back offices, how do they reach you, contact you, all that good stuff?
you can reach me via LinkedIn. It's probably the easiest way.
And that's Tina Ratliff, Ratliff, for those
Yep.
in the know. Just search her out and you'll see her and her smiling face. And Melissa, how are folks going to be able to reach you and find you if they have any questions about gamifying
Yeah.
their HME DME stuff?
Yeah, sure. Melissa W at prochant.com. And thank you, Tina. This was great.
They can reach me too at my
Yeah,
email. It's
of course.
TinaR@prochan.com. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But we love it when people reach out on in or email, however they are. We're always happy to help. So thank you everyone so much for listening. We are going to be back next week with an all new episode. So be sure to like, subscribe, share this with your colleagues if it's useful. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, hop over to Apple Podcasts and rate us 5 stars. It really helps with helping the show get found and helping us reach a new audience. So as always, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Modern Healthcare Back Office, a presentation of ProChant, a wholly owned revenue cycle management service dedicated to serving HME, pharmacy, infusion, and other healthcare providers. Learn more about us at prochant.com.